Blessings, everyone. Oh, I just got chills just with that. This is going to be an amazing interview. I have Raquel Spencer with me today, and we're going to be talking about, we're going to be biohacking quantum clearing. So it's how to clear the body of those energies that just won't move out, or those old thought patterns that just don't move out. Like we all know when we're stuck in a looping cycle. And Raquel is a genius in this area. So I'm really excited to just see what comes through in this conversation. But before we get into the juicy stuff, I'm going to turn it over to you, Raquel, and just let everybody know who you are and just kind of share a little bit about your genius before we start.
So who am I? I've been on this path of awakening, path of ascension for almost 40 years. I began the journey all the way back in 1985 when I went through a 5-week unexplained coma. And at that point, think back to 85, if you were even alive. Many, I was like, it's so funny how many weren't even alive then. But there was no internet. There was no social media. There was no community to be able to reach out to. So it was a very interesting start. But I have been working with the consciousness of the body, with consciousness as a platform, light architecture, for almost, 35 years. And so I started doing this work about 15 years ago professionally. Before that, I have a bachelor's of science in marketing and management, and I worked for Intel and Hewlett Packard and, did the corporate before the timing was correct to actually start bringing my work forward. And so quantum ascension, light body technologies, being able to maneuver through the multiverse and what that really means. Those are my areas of focus and how I really assist people to wake up and understand what ascension really is, because it's quite misunderstood at this level of reality, and really help people just navigate what's really happening at this particular time.
I love that. I'm getting chills again. I love that you just said that ascension is misunderstood in the time that we're in now, because we're in a higher frequency than even the earth itself is in a higher frequency where, there's so much just pouring in right now that ascension isn't the same. And I want to talk about that because I know there's a lot of people out there that are either starting to wake up, or they've been on this path for a long time and they have hit the ceiling, and everyone's like, why can't I get past it? Why can't I get past it? And so kind of no matter where you are in your awakening process, this is what I love about you, is that we all know it has to go through the body. We have to bring the body with us. And not a lot of people are talking about that. Some more and more are starting to, but this is something I think that we have in common, is that we both tuned into that before, like, whatever, 30 years ago, right?
Because the body is key. The body is absolutely key to the awakening process. And, my favorite line that I've been saying, for decades now, ascension is really, it's an inside job, but that's the awakening part. Awakening is an inside job. Ascension is collective, right? And ascension is a full body experience. It's a full body experience. It's not about, I've gone out of my body and I'm traveling and, that kind of thing. It's a full body embodiment. And what that really means to anchor your consciousness through this biology that is quite frankly, shifting in a way that has never happened in this civilization.
Let's go into that a little bit deeper. Chills again, because I feel like this part is the next of human evolution, is that consciousness is the body. And because we feel like our consciousness is separate, because we're identifying our body through programming, we keep looping in this cycle. So I'm just going to let you take what I just said and just run with it, because it's going to go, this would be good.
Well, and it's interesting because your body, of course, we all know, we've heard about this forever, your cells hold memory. Your bones are your bone libraries, right? They hold all of the information. And we're not talking just this incarnation. We're not talking even just this form, right? The ascension that we're going through is a all-encompassing all-encompassing awakening. And as your body continues to, and it's so hard because everybody wants to be done with the clearing. Everybody wants to be, I'm past all that. I've healed myself. Right? And it's not even so much about feeling like you're not whole, because you're already whole.
Mm-hmm.
You already are a fractal of the totality, right? But the ascension process is, again, releasing the layers that the illusion that you are actually separate. And it's a healing, clearing. Yes, we hate those words. We're so tired of those words. We don't want to do that anymore. We've been doing it for 30 years, right? Or whatever it is. But the truth of the matter is this body is, and I've said this for 35 years, I see it as a supercomputer.
Mm-hmm.
I see it as, and it's the totality of holding every life stream, your unique, individualized fractal signature has ever experienced. And so as we go through the awakening is about shedding the layers, the information, the blockages that we have experienced to be separate. And that was purposeful, right? To have the experience of separation. But as we continue, this process is about shedding all of those individualized experiences and bringing it back into wholeness. And the body is the container that is, first of all, your map. Second of all of the intelligence. But it's like you have to unwrap it and unwrap it and unwrap it, so that all of the distortions that are still held, thinking you're separate from source energy, thinking that you're an individualized and not part of the whole. And as a human, where we're all having our individualized experience, that can be a hard leap sometimes when we're thinking about going back into wholeness. But the first step of that is clearing and bringing all of our unique signature back embodied here, which unlocks our ability to understand that we have always been source and creator beings, right? That's who we are at our core. We just have layer after layer after layer of interesting programs that made us believe, or what, not made us believe, that we set up to play the game of illusion and separation, because that was why we set it up to begin with. The whole idea was to experience, what would it be like if I forgot that
So
I am
I hear people asking this question. Why?
Why? Okay, so if you live in an infinite universe that is constantly creating, sometimes you get bored and you get wild ideas It's like, we've never done that before. Why not go and experience? Let's race. Who can wake up the fastest and remember that this was all an illusion, right? That's kind of the idea you have to take, because it's really hard when we look at what's played out at the lowest level. I mean, we came through the lowest level of consciousness, and it played out in some pretty, from a human mind perspective, pretty horrifically. So it takes a lot to really step back and understand. Again, we have to, as an individualized human, just trying to walk your path on this live stream, that can be a really hard concept. But if you really step back and realize this is a blink, this isn't even half blink, this isn't even a nano blink of the totality of what we are experiencing as divine beings of light through this universe, this multiverse, or other multiverses. So, but damn, as a human going, I just want to have a nice life, right? I just want to experience a beautiful experience while I'm here. That can be a little jarring. But as you walk this path and understand that this life stream, not 100 years ago in the bodies we were then, right? This life stream, this time in cosmic history, is when we chose to wrap up this experience. And so it's a unique expression, it's a unique life stream that we all chose to come back in to actually unwind and unravel from all of the distortions. So it's very different than our grandparents. It's even different than our parents, who some are still alive and not quite sure how to get out of the matrix, right? But those of us, and I'm quite a bit older than you, Jules, but those of us that have been on this path, that's our journey. And we really are here to unravel from all the distortions that we created for ourselves.
This is so funny, but as I have to say it, because as you're talking, this is what I'm seeing, is that technology, like your technology that's running all the programs, is literally, it's just because you're talking about unraveling it, it's all unraveling. And it's just like, and now it's like, even I can see it even just with me acknowledging it in you, that you've gone into this kind of central clear space that you're holding. And I think it's important to say this, just because I do feel that now more than ever, it is that easy. It's just, where are we putting our consciousness? Where are we focus?
And understanding that is the journey. It is that big of a journey. And that awareness of just, oh wow, this is really, there's no such thing as an end, because we're constantly creating. We've already even created the new realities. It's already all there, right? But in this focal point, this is really the final expression where we get to, it's a privilege, we get to unravel all of the distortions that we helped create to have this incredible experience of separation. And so even that shift in your consciousness, like, this is not a chore. This is because we all agreed to have this, to set this up, right? So those of you that are listening to this kind of an interview, that are interested in biohacking the body, that are interested in consciousness, that are interested in this process, you're interested because you are part of, and it's just a silly term I use, but the ground crew that have come in to specifically unravel it all. And each of us holding unique facets of that creation, because if you created it, you came in with the keys and the codes to unwrite it, to bring it back to 0 point, to take it out of distortion, right? And so there's just a massive group of us here where that is why we came in, to really unravel this distorted binary experience that has been playing out for this civilization and many before that. And we chose our bodies, our physical vehicles, as the supercomputer that is the mechanism in which the consciousness unravels, embodies, and awakens.
I love that last place is that we chose uh, really one of the most advanced technologies that there is, that we're aware of anyways, and that we are conscious of that technology, but we're not fully using it to its potential. And I think that's where everybody gets hung up, is because we all have this innate knowing that we should heal instantly, that we should be able to biolocate. I call it, it's not just biolocate. You're supposed to biolocate, like, because we are an energy being. We are a quantum body, but then we're so focused on the experience of the physical that we keep butting up into those programs. So let's talk a little bit about that, because I know there are so many people that are it's just like it can be this almost paralyzing when you're like, how come my consciousness understands all of this but my body isn't having the experience?
Well, and there's lots of facets to that. First and foremost, and kind of been the cornerstone of or the foundation of my work for the last 20 years, is learning how to not we have been programmed, like you said, programmed. And the programming has also literally locked us into the brain.
Mhm.
And that is not our central processing unit. It never was meant to be. Our central processing unit has always been our high heart. And so as you learn to drop in, I say drop in because 99.9% of you are up here when you should be operating from here. And it was beautiful. The last event I did, someone there explained it quite, or put their own spin on it. It's like, if you're trying to access from your mind, you're actually going into, what did she call it? Like the mainframe, okay, to retrieve information.
Mhm.
When you're operating from here, you're operating from the quantum computer. This is where the true access is. This is the old binary trying to keep you locked in, right? So most people are still trying to figure it out from here. There is no figuring it out from here. There's processes and moving through, but if you're not doing it from the central processing of the high heart, which is your gateway, which is your own personal stargate to all that is, right? You can get really looped in, and that's where the looping patterns happen in that what do we call it? I don't play in it much anymore. It's the lower mind, the reptilian, there's the word I was looking for, the reptilian brain, right? Which we are consciously, as a collective, right, unraveling all of the distortions that are playing out in the hologram that keep us locked down. That includes the hologram we see, but also what what was actually done to the physical body, the DNA, the cellular structure, the cranial structure, everything, to actually bring us into this low of a consciousness. And so we're unlocking those levels within the template of what I call the angelic human, because it was a different blueprint that we are reawakening, unraveling back into that higher level blueprint where the DNA actually can function as it was originally designed to, right? So it's all in there. It's about taking the layers off that have locked down that ability, right?
I have a
Does that
clip.
make
Somebody
sense? You probably say it differently, but it's all there.
It's all there. So this is the question. I'm just tuning in to the question. So the question is, how do you know where you are? If you, because I have a saying that's like, oh, well, the intellect is never going to get you there. And that's really, I think everybody understands the
And
intellect,
that's the same thing. The brain is not going to
right?
get you. It has to be from here. Same thing, different wording,
So
right?
it's, so the question I'm hearing people ask is, how do you know? And it's really interesting. I just had this interview with Dave Asprey, and he was, I won't go into the story, but he was talking about how someone that he knew got really big, and then all of a sudden they were all in their ego. And he is like, well, how do you know you're not just speaking from your ego? And my answer was, well, you have to know what level of consciousness you're in. You have to know where you're observing the thought. Is it coming from here or here? And he skipped over the question because I don't think he quite understood, which is fine. But I know that you do. And I know that the people that are listening are interested. And how do you know what you're listening to? Like, how do you know where the information is coming from?
Well, and that's a skill.
Mhm.
That's a skill that takes practice. It takes not constantly. It takes a really strong awareness to really tap in and learn. It's a relearning to actually function from here, because for centuries our DNA has been in that other loop.
Mhm.
And so I'm not, Jules, I'm not sure I actually have a great answer for that, because I've operated for so long from here. I'm not quite, I'm it's stopping. And where did that come from? Was it here or was it here? I mean, because it actually starts emanating from this location in the body. It's a location in your body, in your light body, in your energetics, in your connection to the quantum. Your
I think you
quantum
answered the question
doesn't
in a simple way. You just kind of answered the question, as you can feel it.
you and
It's not an emotion, it's a feeling. And
it's
no,
a feeling. It's a feeling and knowing. And it's literally, it's you always know when you're in your head. You know when you bounced into your head. And that is unfortunately what society has absolutely deemed as the best way to operate in this reality, because it keeps you in the distortions, right? And so it's a practice. It's a skill that you learn. It's a skill that takes, it's not one and done. Oh, I've dropped into my heart, so I'm caught. No, this is a journey of retraining where you're asking the questions from, even. Are you asking it from a mental, or are you asking it from a source space, from a higher level of desire to know, and then be willing to actually hear from here what that answer is? Because most people want to, oh, I don't like that, I'm going straight. Wait a minute, I can't, what's the word, I can't dissect that or process it in an old way. And when you start realizing oh crap, I just went into my brain and I can't process it the old way. You're getting close because you don't want to process it that way. This is not, as you so beautifully, this is not an intellectual journey at all. And the body, in the highest form of awakening, of consciousness, actually takes information, structure, intelligence, communication from your quantum computer to really move into those higher states. But it is a learned practice that you have to be willing to catch yourself. Oops. Oh damn, I just processed that all in my head again, right? Because 20, 30, 40, 50 years of the same process, it doesn't change overnight. It gets easier when you start actually doing what needs to be done, but it's not a one and done. It's not a flip a switch, as we all.
Well, I think it like you said, it's a skill. So
It's a skill. And it can come online very quickly, but you have to be willing to acknowledge, whoops, I just went back in my head again. Whoops.
that's consciousness, right? I call consciousness. I had this really cool insight the other day. It's so I had this other interview. I've been interviewing a lot. At this other interview, and we're talking about, they were saying that science is showing, or it's not proven yet, but that consciousness is held in the microtubules. And there's microtubules both in the cells, but also in neurotransmitters. And honestly, I don't resonate. I don't believe that's true. But just that science is looking at it being beyond the brain, I'm like, okay, yay. Okay, they're
Well, and haven't they already said that the I thought, well, I don't know, I don't play this
it's a
but I
study.
thought they realized consciousness was in the field a long time ago. So
Maybe they have. Maybe this is just this was just
another new level inside the DNA,
exactly.
right?
Yeah. I think I think the point is that they're
They're
so
looking.
pinpointing that consciousness can fluctuate in frequency. But now I want to take it back to what you were saying about the quantum computer. And so I had this insight, and I just think it's fun to think about. So I always say that consciousness is just our tool to become the intelligence of the computer, right? So until we become the computer altogether, and where we don't need consciousness anymore, we use it to consciously attune. Well, am I here? Am I here? Where's the information coming from? And so I had this thing where, okay, well, if that is true, this is just fun to kind of play in, then my consciousness is always behind what's actually happening. So then I went into this place of like, well, if that's true, then we don't even have free will, because our consciousness is catching up to what the quantum computer is running. And that's like a kind of putting it into a timeline, but because that's our experience of time in some ways. And even if it's not, it's still the same in spherical time, that where our consciousness is always a step behind what the intelligence is running. And that kind of is fun to think about, because then it kind of is like, oh, well, okay. So I can just relax into whatever my experience is. I'll hold it always in the highest frequency, because I know my consciousness is just attuning to the intelligence that's already running. And then it kind of changes everything.
Interesting wording that you're using with that, and that's brilliant. And it's exciting that so many people are starting to really understand, and the way in which, how do I want to say this? As we unlock the experience that is running the binary. And when I say we, again, this is a collective ascension. So in my humble awareness, everyone who played a part in creating the binary is back embodied. And holding specific instruction codes, keys, whatever you want to call it, to help unlock the pieces in which they helped create. Okay. If you built it, you're taking it apart, right? If you were part of the engineering team, if you will, that created it, you're also here as the engineering team that's unlocking it. If you want to talk about containers of consciousness. And so every time a container gets unlocked, that allows the intelligence that you're talking about to actually stream a new instruction set that your consciousness can connect into. Mm-hmm. Right? And so as we unlock the larger holographic experience, which I call the binary, and move into the tri-wave, which is the light architecture that actually allows unity consciousness to actually have a platform, right? As we unlock the binary, the tri-wave's already there. And so again, your consciousness can move up in levels of connecting with the intelligence. And there is also divine timing in that, because you may be able to unlock your pieces, but there's other pieces that are still happening. So it allows you to continue to tap into that intelligence as each piece unlocks, whether you know it's happening or not. That's why it's always, oh, where's the next thing? Where's the next level of that intelligence coming from? Because we continue as a collective group of beings here, unlocking the distortions that have kept us disconnected from that intelligence.
So now I want to take what you just said and let's bring it back to the body.
Okay.
And just because I think we all are in agreement that, yes, this is what's happening, right? This is what's happening. So let's bring it back into the body, because this is the one space where, as we start to unlock the DNA and it starts to move back into that 100% potential, you could say, or not even potential, it's an original state of being,
Right.
Then just with your experience and just how you have been sitting with this for as many years as you have, what do you see the result of that becoming?
That's kind of a loaded question. So yes, it is about you understanding that you are ultimately connected to everything, whether it's the orchid sitting next to you, the blanket hanging there, there's no separation. And you begin to understand that you are the creator and that you can play with the intelligence of the particles of creation. So that's the really high level, right? When you start to really understand that you really are creating your own reality. And as I said before, and as you know, in quantum, everything is simultaneous. And so as those limitations, those layers continue to unravel you from the limitations or distortions, you move into the reality that's already there, that many are calling fifth dimension or unity. I mean, there's lots of names, but that is a space in which you literally dance with creation, and you are truly the creator of your life. And so your ability to play and live in that frequency and understanding becomes real. Whether, it's like, you don't have to move, you don't have to change houses, it's about what can you perceive. um Ascension and awakening is changing your perceptions. It's always been there, you just can't see it, you can't tap into it. That's the limitations that we're taking off. That's the rewiring and the reawakening of the DNA and the cells and the mitochondria and all of that, that has access in its whole form to experience this reality completely different than what we're seeing. I don't know if that answered your question. It was pretty high up and out there again. But as we unlock the body, just your ability to not be tied in to this hologram, not be experiencing. My experience and your experience are so completely different than the people down at the drugstore, right? It's a completely different experience that we're having in the same, what we perceive as the same space. And so it's a continuation of moving into seeing experiencing a completely different reality amongst what other people, I mean, you don't move. It's not, oh, we're going to a new earth like so many talked about, or, we're going, it is your perception no longer blinded by the distortions in the binary as we continue to unlock this as a collective. And so as you stay at the cutting edge, at the forefront of being, as those new levels of the intelligence become available, being able to play in that vibration, because your body continues to unlock.
So that's what I think that's where I want to take the question is, what will be the experience of the body so we're like, everything you talked about is how our conscious, our experience consciously will be, or even through thoughts or what our feeling, however you want to say it. But like, I think what I want to hear is what will happen with the body, like when this all
Oh,
ends.
so the body, and this one, it's really hard to wrap your head around, I think, for a lot of people. But the biology, the actual structure, we've been talking about this I've been saying it for 30 years. We're moving from a carbon to a crystalline. And it's like, what the F does that mean? I mean, I've been saying it forever, right? Your organs, your glands, they were all originally designed in the angelic, that's just the title, that's just the name, like a Toyota or a BMW, it's just the name, right? But it's the angelic human blueprint. All of your organs and all of your glands were originally designed to be quantum, to be multidimensional, right? And the body, as much as our if you try to think about it here, doesn't work. But the body itself is physically changing.
Okay, I'm gonna
The
stop you right
blood,
there.
the cells, the bones.
Everybody that's listening, as you are listening to Raquel right now, I want you to drop into your heart and feel what she's saying instead of trying to figure it out with your mind. Continue.
Beautiful. Because we are moving back into our original organic state of being. And so I know that there have been medical reports of, especially with the younger kids, because they're coming in with a completely different energetic and structure, right? They're already vibrating well beyond those of us that are in our 40s, 50s, and 60s and beyond. but there's already documentation. They go in for x-rays and they can't see the bones. I mean, it's already starting to happen. The body actually, at the biological, at the cellular level, we talk about unlocking the DNA, but we're also unlocking the bones. We're also unlocking the cells themselves. We're unlocking it all to move into a completely different biosuit.
I love that name, biosuit. That's
I
fun.
mean, it's our biosuit, and it's just one of many, right? That we inhabit across the multiverse. But it is literally changing the blood, the formulation, because as we go through this awakening process, the biohacking of the body, we are literally moving into a different light architecture, which is the elements, the alchemy. And people have been throwing the word alchemy around for thousands of years, right? Oh, the alchemy into gold, right? But alchemy itself is literally the changing at the molecular, right? We are going through an alchemical. The elements that make up this reality are at the primordial, at the base of the planetary structure, are reawakening. It's going through a biological shift at the elemental, or what periodic table. And science is gonna say that's bullshit, and it's like, just wait, you're not vibrating at the level that you can now actually even perceive that those elements are shifting, because it's all about your ability to perceive. And that is the biohacking, that is the unlocking of this bodysuit that allows us to have a completely different experience.
I want to put into this space because this is important. We are going to bypass science quicker than science is going to be able to understand what is happening. And if you're waiting for proof, then you are just limiting yourself. So in this moment, I don't care how hard it is for you to let go that you need to have proof before you become the next in human evolution. I'm going to challenge you in this moment to choose otherwise. Like, choose to be uncomfortable and let your body show you what it's capable of, and let your consciousness have the experience of that in your own way. Because even things that are being proven by science or have been proven are being disproven. And there's a reason for that.
Well,
It's human evolution.
and just to throw another side note, let's go back to a bigger picture for a minute. The whole reality was set up to keep us separate. So anything that has been part of the science, part of the histories, have all been deliberately distorted. So when you start to understand that, anything around the science, anything around our human histories, the Earth's histories, that are all distorted as well, you start to understand, of course, everything in the science is distorted to begin with, enough to keep us from understanding we always have been source energy. We've always been connected to all that is. We've always been those creators of reality.
So let's just take, I love that you said that, because I I have this saying, it's like if we are observing through our programming in order to create something different, we're just going to get more of our programming. And that's why we have this quantum system, because we have the ability to listen to an intelligence and start to attune to it and bring the body with us, right? So going back to what you just said, if we're only biohacking the body and what science can study, then that is no different than what we're talking about. So for those of you that maybe are hearing this for the first time, sit with that. Sit with that. It's like, okay, well, they have studied this and they've studied that. Now I'm going to do this. Like, what if for you to get to the place where you're wanting to get to in your experience of your vehicle is inside of you? The information is inside of you and is ready to come online.
Yeah.
That's
And if you're looking for the science out there, you're not going to find it in the old paradigm. We're moving out of this experience that has kept us limited and locked down. And it's incredible. It's at times confusing if you're trying to go through your brain. But really, when you come from your high heart and you really listen to what's happening and what we're talking about, and you really go within, you begin to understand you are part of the evolution. You, individualized, are a piece of the puzzle that brings the collective, that brings us all out of the distortions. It's you. Always has been you. You're magnificent. You've just been told your whole life that you're not in so many ways, right? You're magnificent, brilliant, and here because you're part of the team to do exactly what we're talking about. Pardon me, as a individual, but your individual piece is part of the bigger puzzle that gets us all there.
I love that. And I'm going to say, if you listened up to this point of this interview, you are here to, what do you call it? A ground worker.
We're the ground crew. We're the ones embodied that are doing this from inside the experience.
Yes, yes, yes. I absolutely love that. I think, okay, so I think this is a good space to talk about your free gift to everybody, because it sounds amazing. And I know everybody's going to not only want to know about it, but experience it. So I'm going to give you a moment to talk about that.
It's a technique that is one that helps you think outside the box in ways to help clear distortions out of your biosuit. Because many people, and again, if you made it this far on this interview, you are part of the ground crew and are ready to hear and recognize that you are multidimensional and you exist in many, many bodysuits throughout the multiverse. And this particular body is control central for the awakening. And there are times when you may be trying to address a symptom or a condition that, oh my God, you've tried everything and it just doesn't seem to be going away. And I'll give you a quick example. I had a client of mine had been covered in hives for days. And actually this had been an ongoing pattern for years. And she tried everything medical and she tried everything metaphysical, and it would just not go away. And I was speaking with her, and I'm like, it's because you're not looking in the right place for the original cause. She was limited to this life or past lives here on this planet, and it was actually coming from a different expression that didn't have anything to do with a human bodysuit, but it was a bleed through. And so I gave her this technique, trying to open her mind. Let's just play with it. Just be willing to see if it would work. And she ran the technique. It's a literal speaking out loud. Ran the technique once or twice, and then she's like, I'm just so tired. I just gotta lay down. And she woke up 2 hours later, and all of the hives were gone. And
Yay.
they never returned because she got to a root cause. And it's a very simple technique. It's just about expanding your level of awareness of where this why is this showing up, and what beautiful thing are you ready to unlock that you never had the awareness of, because you were kind of going here when you needed to go into the multiverse of who you are as a being, experiencing many, 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 many different life streams. And so it's a beautiful, easy technique that allows you to tap into things you might not have thought of before.
So fun. And so just for everybody to know, the link for that is going to be in the show notes. So definitely check that out. And then also, Raquel, let everybody know where they could find you if they want to connect with you outside of your free offering.
Yeah, my website is www.raquelspencer.com, and that's RAQUELSPENCER.com. And I do all kinds of different levels where you can engage with me. Um, and I really hope, if this resonated at all, that you take a look and come see what I have to offer.
So beautiful. And I know that everybody will definitely check that out. So thank you again for your free gift and for just this amazing time where you shared so much wisdom. And I hope that everybody's feeling uplifted and they're feeling at a higher vibration, and it really take action in that. So as you get off this interview, notice how you feel different, because just by listening to this, your body is turning on and starting to unlock. So spend some time in that and just explore that consciously as you kind of continue with your day. And of course, listen to the rest of the interviews as well. So thank you so much, Raquel. I love you so much. And you always bring so much joy and wisdom to everyone that you share your brilliance with. Thank
Thank you
you.
so much for having me, Jules. It's been a real pleasure.
Thank you. And thanks everyone for listening.